cspan.org. And comments now this morning from White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders with remarks on the Mueller report.
Every single one of your questions and nobody would be here.
Sarah has been calling this a total exoneration when on obstruction of justice it's not.
Well, I frankly disagree with you, and so does the Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General. The report found that they were unable to make a decision. That went over to the Department of Justice, where they did make a decision. The Attorney General followed the legal process. He worked with the Deputy Attorney General, who's been involved since the very beginning of this two-year absurdity, and they made a decision that there was no obstruction. So that makes it a complete and total exoneration. I don't know any other way to look at it when the whole purpose of this investigation was to determine whether or not there was collusion. And there wasn't. They were incredibly clear in the report that there was no collusion, not by the president, but by any American, no one on his team. That's a great thing for our country, and it's a great thing for this administration. Catherine, sorry, hold on just a second. Catherine, go ahead. The president's spoken on this already. He wants full transparency, as he does in everything every day. However, that decision is being left up to the Attorney General, and he'll make that determination when he's ready. The one thing we do want to be careful about and be clear is that we want to do the right thing, not just for this president, but for all administrations. We want to make sure we're protecting the office of the presidency. We have to look at things like executive privilege. We have to look at protecting sources and methods for the intelligence community. Those are things that you're going to see the Attorney General determine, and he'll make that decision when he's ready. Emerald, I'll come back.
Russia released a statement saying that they hope relations with the U.S. will improve after this investigation is over. What do you say to that?
We want good relationships across the board. The president has always said a good relationship is better than a bad one. We know that when you have a good relationship, even sometimes with countries you don't always agree with, that good things can come from that. We've seen some progress on that with North Korea, whether it was getting our hostages home, the stopping of some testing. That's a positive thing, and that's been based on relationship. We see the same thing taking place in China with the president's relationship with President Xi has helped us have progress on the trade negotiations. We think that those relationships matter, and we've seen them play out and show positive results for the country. Jennifer, I'll come to you next, Kristen.
Do you think that Mueller did a good job?
I think he did a good job by finishing. I think that it's disgraceful, the fact that it took 2 years. I think it's disgraceful that we had $25 million in taxpayer money to chase a witch hunt that never should have taken place in the first place. I think Democrats and the liberal media should be absolutely embarrassed by their behavior over the last 2 years in their breathless reporting and their hope. It's not just that they reported and spread a slanderous, malicious lie, but they hoped for the takedown of the President of the United States. I think everybody in America should sit back and process that for just a second and realize the seriousness of the accusation that was put on this president, that the media perpetuated, that they celebrated, and they loved to report. 8,500 articles just between 4 outlets, the Washington Post, the New York Times, MSNBC, and CNN, since May of 2017 have been put on this. That is outrageous, something that we found out to be a complete and utter lie. The president's been clear what his feelings are. Our feeling is that this never should have needed to take place, and Democrats should be embarrassed by their behavior, and we'll see what they do with it.
Kristen, a fine point on that. Does the president still think Mueller is a disgraced liar?
Again, the president's been clear on his feelings. I don't have any sense to change what the president said in the past. I'll let him make that determination if he feels necessary.
Open the door for pardons for Paul Manafort, for example.
There's no discussion of that taking place at this point. No discussion I'm aware of, Kristen, on any pardons at this point. Francesca, go ahead.
Transparency when it comes to the Mueller report. Does that include his written responses to the special counsel?
Again, the president's been clear about what he thinks should take place, but he's also letting the Attorney General make the determination. At the same time, we have to protect the office of the presidency, and we'll see what happens on that.
Can you tell us why the meeting with the Prime Minister of Israel is suddenly closed, and do we expect any announcement from the president on the Golan today?
We'll see if there's very possible that opens back up. I know that the timeline has shifted some as the Prime Minister is making an earlier departure than expected. and we've got a lot of business we want to discuss, but we'll certainly see if that changes, and I wouldn't be surprised if it does.
Sarah, disappointed that the Prime Minister's leaving so early?
Look, the president is glad that they're going to have a chance to sit down and talk about a number of important issues facing the globe and have those conversations. But he certainly understands the need for the prime minister to return and get back.
Sarah, will the president?
Sarah, what about Michael Flynn? Has the president thought about a pardon for Michael Flynn?
Again, like I said to Kristen, we have had no discussions at this point on pardons or anything else.
Well, the president said this was an illegal action, referring to the investigation. Who does he want held accountable as a result?
Look, I think any of the people that were involved in the process of trying to take down the president, the fact that they spent 2 years trying to delegitimize the president's victory in 2016 is disgusting. And there are a lot of people that should answer questions. If Congress is so gung-ho to call people up to the Hill, the list I would start with are Comey, Clapper, Brennan, and other people in the FBI who perpetuated this absurd lie and this absurd idea that the president of the United States was somehow a foreign agent and colluding with another government. Let's not forget that all of this interference in the election took place under the Obama administration. They knew about it and they did nothing to stop it. I think that's where they should start. Thanks, guys.
Will the president
Just before the report was given to the Attorney General on Friday, the administration announced a 180-degree turn as it relates to its policy with sanctions against North Korea. Why is that the case? How did that come about? And the reason we were given was because the president likes Kim. Is that an actual foreign policy basis?
Look, the sanctions that were in place before are certainly still on. They are very tough sanctions. The president just doesn't feel it's necessary to add additional sanctions at this time.
Why?
Nothing else to add. Like I said, the president likes them. They want to continue to negotiate and see what happens. Thanks, guys.